Good morning, dear students. Say in the last class, we have started the second module, that is the data warehouse implementation. Okay, I'll just repeat the things again, what we have studied in the last class. Okay, so as we all know that the data which is stored in a data warehouse, it contains a large quantity of data. But as a user, say you want the result to be given to you in fraction of seconds. Okay. So now if the large, normally if you got a large quantity of data, obviously it is going to consume a lot amount of time to provide you with the result. But here the users, they're going to expect that they want to get the result in fraction of seconds. So here the OLAP server, so it is going to demand that these decision support queries, it must be answered in order of seconds. Normally less than a second it must take to give you the result. So in order to give the result in fraction of seconds, so we need to take care of three things here. See, one thing is we need to provide the efficient computation of cubes here. That is, we need to provide the highly efficient cube computation techniques. And second one is access methods. And third one is query processing techniques. Okay. So now coming to what exactly this data cube is. See, as I explained in the first module, see, in case of a data warehouse, data will be present in multiple dimensions. It is going to use the multi-dimensional model to weave the data. So data will be stored in multiple dimensions here. Okay. So here in this multi-dimensional data, in order to provide the analysis, say we are going to compute the aggregations across a set of dimensions here. Okay, so the analysis will be done in the multiple dimensions, that is by computing the aggregations here across many sets of dimensions. So these aggregations, see, they are just like your group by operation in a DBMS system. See, just like how you're going to perform the group by operation with respect to one of the column, you will be grouping the that is values of a table. So in the same way, see here also, see, result will be computed by performing the aggregation operation. So aggregation is nothing but combine the data values which are present in the tables here. Okay. So that each group by, see, it is called as a cuboid here. And the set of group bys, they are going to form a data cube. So each, see, data warehouse, see, it will be storing the result in the form of a three-dimensional data model, that is the data cube here. So in each data model, see, there will be a set of cuboids, and each cuboid is nothing but, see, it is a group by operation, or it is an aggregation of operation with respect to one of the dimension. Okay. So now in order to compute this cuboid, see, we have got the compute cube operator, or it is just like your SQL statement, that is compute cube, and then you need to specify the name of the cube here. And in order to define the cube, see, as I explained in the last class, we have got one that is a syntax. See, that is define cube and then name of the cube. And then in square brackets, we need to specify which are the dimensions, and then put the colon, and then we need to specify the measure. Okay. So this is for defining the cube. And then this one is for computing the aggregate operation here. Okay. So this operation, see, it is going to perform the aggregation of the that is the values, data values which are present in a data cube. Okay. So that aggregated value will be given to the user. So the result, whatever you are going to give, that will be an aggregated value that will be used by the knowledge workers here. Okay. So don't bother much about the other things here. Okay. So just remember that, see, compute cube operator will be used to compute the aggregation of data values in the data warehouse here. Okay. So now apart from that, say I mentioned in the last class, so what is the problem that is associated with that is computing the cuboids here. Okay. So if you compute a cuboid and if you materialize that, see, materialization is nothing but storing the result of an SQL query, that is called as materialization. See here also, see, once you compute the cuboid, you will be storing that result in the memory. Okay. So what is the advantage of storing the result of a cuboid in memory? So one advantage is, if you pre-compute the cuboids, see, response time will be less. You can easily get the result because it will be already stored in memory. You can easily access that. That is one advantage. And second advantage is, see, you can avoid the redundant computation here. See, instead of performing the same operation again and again, so if the result is already stored in memory, you can reuse that. So you can avoid the redundant computation here. So these are the advantages of materializing the cuboids. But the thing is, see, if you have got many dimensions, and if each of the dimensions has got the concept hierarchy, then it is going to consume a lot amount of storage space. So storage space requirements, it is going to explode or increase, say if the cuboids are pre-computed in a data cube. Okay, so that is the disadvantage of that is pre-computing the cuboids. That is called as curse of dimensionality. Okay, so curse of dimensionality is nothing but, see, as you start materializing or pre-computing the cuboids, see, it is going to consume a lot amount of storage space. So required storage space is going to explode. Okay, so if you pre-compute many of the cuboids here, suppose if the data cube contains many dimensions, and again if each of the dimension contains multiple concept hierarchies, then again the data required sorry, storage space required to store that results will be very large here. Okay, so this problem is called as curse of dimensionality. Okay. And then, see, I told, see, what are the possible that is different methods we have got for materialization. Okay, so first one is no materialization. So in case of no materialization, we will not pre-compute any of the cuboids here. So only if the user requires the result of that cuboid, then only on the fly we'll be computing the cuboids here. Okay, so this is called as no materialization. No materialization means will not store the result of any of the cuboids here in the memory. So only if the user requires that, that will be computed on demand. Whenever the user needs, then that will be computed. That is called as no materialization. Second one is full materialization. So in case of full materialization, see, all the cuboids, whether it is required or not required by the user, they will be pre-computed and they will be stored in the memory. So such technique, it is called as also full cube. So full cube means that, see, all the cuboids which are present in a data cube will be pre-computed and they will be stored in a memory. That is called as full materialization. Okay. So third best option is partial materialization. See, this is one which is normally recommended whenever, say, you're trying to save the results of a data cube. So that is partial materialization. See, in case of partial materialization, say we'll choose some of the cuboids which we want to pre-compute here. We'll not compute all of the cuboids, or we will not leave the computation here. Moderately, we'll pre-compute some of the cuboids here. See, based on some of the threshold, user specified threshold, we'll be choosing some of the cells here, and for those cells we'll be calculating the result of cuboid here. We will be calculating the aggregation. Okay, so that is called as partial materialization. Okay, so one of the advantages, see, it is going to save the storage space obviously, and say it is an intermediary option between the no materialization and full materialization. Say no materialization, say will not pre-compute any of the cuboids. Okay, and in full materialization, will compute all of the cuboids, whether it is required by the user or not. In beginning only, will compute the results, and that will be stored in a memory. Obvious disadvantages, it is going to consume a lot amount of storage space. And third option is partial materialization. Since partial materialization, we'll choose some of the subset of the cuboids here, which we want to calculate. That is based on some of the user specified threshold. Say, if some of the cells, if they satisfy the requirement that is given by the user, then we will choose those cells, and they will we will calculate the that is aggregation for those cells. Okay, that is partial materialization. Okay, so now coming to see, what are the that is things or the factors we need to consider, see, whenever we are performing a partial materialization. See, here we have got three different factors that we need to consider, see, whenever we are materializing, partially materializing a cuboid here. Okay, so first one is identify the subset of cuboids or subcubes to materialize. As I said, see, in case of partial materialization, we will not choose all of the cuboids here. Only a subset of cuboids will be chosen, and such cuboids will be stored in memory. So whenever you are choosing some of the cuboids here out of many available cuboids, so you need to consider some of the factors here. So first factor in that is, see, how we can identify the subset of cuboids or the subcubes for materialization. That is the first thing we need to take care of. Then what are the different possibilities which we have got in order to choose the subset of cuboids? Okay, so see here, see in order to choose a subset of cuboids, okay, so we have got some of the parameters here. So first parameter is account the queries in the workload. So we need to take care, see how many queries and how what is the amount of workload, okay, that is based on this cuboid. For example, if you have got first cuboid, okay, see how many queries are based on this cuboid. Okay, so whether many of the queries, if they are trying to use the result of this cuboid, that I need to take care. I need to take into account the queries in the workload. Okay, so which are the queries and on which that is a cuboid they are dependent on. That is the first thing I need to take care. And second one is their frequencies. So whether this cuboid, whether it is frequently accessed by many of the queries here, that also I need to consider while choosing the cuboid. And their accessing cost. So what is the cost associated with accessing that cuboid? See if it takes whether it takes a large cost to in order to access, or whether it takes a less cost to access. That is the third point. Okay, so apart from this, see we will also consider some other parameters like workload characteristics. Okay, so again workload characteristics is means that, see whether this cuboid is, that is frequently accessed or less frequently accessed. That is the thing. Okay, and then the cost for incremental updates. So cost for incremental update means that, see whenever there are changes in the data which is present in the database systems, then the corresponding changes must be done in a data warehouse. So whether updation of this cuboid, whether it consumes a lot amount of cost, that is the second thing. Okay, and then total storage requirement. So what is the amount of storage that is required to store this cuboid? Okay, so this is also one of the parameter we need to consider whenever we are choosing a subset of cuboids here. So see here, see one is we need to take into account the queries in the workload. So which are the queries which are available and on which cuboid they are based on. Okay, and then what is the frequency of that accessing that cuboid, and then what is the cost of accessing that cuboid. So apart from that, we need to consider workload characteristics. That is how frequently this cuboid has been accessed, okay, by the queries. And then cost for incremental updates. See what is the cost involved in updating that cuboid, and then what is the total storage requirement for the cuboid. Okay, and see one more thing is, see while selecting the cuboids, see we are also going to consider the physical database design. Okay, that is generation and selection of the indices here. Okay, so index is nothing but, see it is just like your primary key with the help of which we can access the cuboids here. Okay, so in the physical design, see we'll be considering the generation and the selection of the indices also. Okay, and then say we have got some of the heuristic approaches also for cuboid selection. So one is, say as I mentioned here, so one of the popular approach that we are going to use here to materialize the cuboid is, say suppose if the other cuboids, okay, if they frequently access this cuboid, then also we can materialize this cuboid. Okay, so for example, if you got two cuboids, cuboid 1 and cuboid 2, if the cuboid 1 is dependent on cuboid 2 for the result, then we can materialize the cuboid 2 here. Okay, so suppose if the other frequently referenced cuboids, if they are based on the cuboid, then also we can materialize the current cuboid here. That is first parameter. See, second thing is, that is iceberg cube. Okay, so iceberg cube is nothing but, see it is a data cube. See that is going to store the results of those cube cells that are above some minimum threshold. Okay, so as I said, see user will be giving some threshold value here. Suppose if the data cube, say if its aggregate value, if it is above some specified threshold, then we can choose that cuboid. Okay, so for example, see user will give the value as 10. Okay, so if the aggregate value which you are going to get for this cuboid, if it is above this 10 or equal to 10, then we will materialize such cuboid. Okay, that is called as iceberg cube. So iceberg cube is a data cube, okay, that is going to store only those data cube cells which are above some specified threshold. So third factor is, that is the shell cube. Okay, so in case of shell cube, So we will be pre-computing the cuboids by considering only a small number of dimensions. For example, if you got 100 dimensions, so instead of considering all the 100 dimensions, we'll be considering only 3 to 4 or 5. So only those subset of the dimensions will be considered here for pre-computing the cuboids. So these are the different factors we need to consider whenever we are materializing the cuboid. So one is, we need to take care into the workload. That is the first thing. And second thing is, see the frequency. What is the frequency of accessing that cuboid? That is the second thing. And third thing is, that is access cost. See how much cost it is going to incur in order to access this cuboid. That is the third thing. So apart from that, see, we also need to consider the workload characteristics. Okay, so whether this cuboid is frequently accessed or not, that we need to consider. And then cost of incremental updates. So how much cost it is going to take to that is incrementally update this cuboid. That also we need to consider. And then what is the total amount of storage requirement? So how much amount of storage is required for storing this the result of this cuboid, that we need to consider. And then see also we'll be considering the physical design. So physical design is nothing but see here we will be considering the generation and the selection of the index. Okay, for this keyboard, that is also one of the parameters. And then we have got some of the heuristic approaches for cube selection. So first one, which I mentioned here is suppose see if the other cuboids, if they are based on this current cuboid, that is if that current cuboid is frequently referenced, then that we can choose to materialize. Okay, that is first thing. And second thing is iceberg cube. See, iceberg cube is a data cube. See, that will be storing only the aggregated values of the data sets which are above the user specified threshold. So user will be giving some threshold. See if the data cube aggregated values, if they are above this threshold, then such cuboids will be materialized. And third one is shell cube. See, in case of a shell cube, so we'll be pre-computing the cuboids only by considering a small subset of dimensions here. So if you have got 100 dimensions, on that only you'll be choosing 3 to 5 dimensions for materialization. Okay, so that is called as a shell cube. Okay, so this is first parameter. See, whenever you're trying to materialize the cuboids here. And now coming to the second factor or the parameter, exploit the materialized cuboids or subcubes during query processing. Okay, so in the first step, see what you have done is you have materialized the cuboids. See now how we can use these materialized cuboids for query processing. That is the second thing. Okay, so how efficiently we can exploit these materialized cuboids or the subcubes during the query processing. So now see here, see if you got, for example, 10 cuboids. Okay, so out of 10 cuboids, so you need to choose one of the cuboid for your query processing. So obviously you will not use all of the 10 cuboids. Okay, so you need to determine the relevant cuboid, okay, among the cuboids which are materialized here. Okay, so this is the issue that you need to consider whenever you want to efficiently process your query. So out of the available cuboids, so which is the relevant cuboid that is going to give me my result. Okay, that is the first thing. We need to determine the relevant cuboid from among the candidate materialized cuboids. Okay. So second one is, see how to use the available index structure on the materialized cuboids. So you will be having the index to access the cuboids. So how efficiently we can use that index structure in order to access the materialized cuboids. So that is the second thing we need to consider. And third one is how to transform the OLAP operations onto the selected cuboids. So ultimately, see the kind of operation that is performed by the knowledge worker or the user will be in the form of OLAP operations. See, already explained what are the different OLAP operations that are available. Say roll up and then drill down. We have got slice and dice, and then say we have got pivot and then drill across, drill through. All these are OLAP operations. Okay. So third thing that we need to consider for efficient query processing is, see how we can efficiently transform these OLAP operations onto the selected cuboids for performing my operation. That is the third thing. Okay, so this is the second factor, that is exploiting the materialized cuboids during the query processing. Now coming to the third thing, that is efficiently updating the materialized cuboids or subcubes during load and refresh. See, as we all know that in case of relational database management systems, there will be update to the data. So ultimately at the bottom tier, see, whenever you're trying to load the data from the relational DBMS system, see, while sometime there will be changes which will be made to relational database management system. Whenever you're going to make the changes to the relational database management system, then appropriate changes must be done in the data warehouse data also. So that is nothing but refreshing and loading the data. So for refreshing and loading the materialized cuboid, see, we have got some of the techniques like parallelism and incremental update techniques. So with the help of these, we can load and refresh the cuboids here or the subcubes. So loading and refreshing is nothing but, see, whenever there are changes in the data which is present in the relational DBMS system, then the corresponding changes must also be done in a data warehouse data. Okay. So here the data warehouse data will also be present in a cuboid. So we need to perform changes in a data cuboid also. So that can be done with the help of parallelism and the incremental updates techniques here. Okay, so this is the third factor, so that we will be considering here. Okay, so now see, the next topic is about the indexing the OLAP data. So you do one thing, so better